Welcome back, sir. All systems for gaming will be prepared in a few seconds. For now, feel free to grab a coffee and have a good day.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Late Night Gaming or Coffee and Gaming, wherever you're watching, whenever. How's it going? We're live on Facebook, Periscope, and Twitch right now.
And live on Planet Earth.
Yeah, live on Planet Earth. And we're gonna be going. We'll be uploading this on a Coffee and Gaming one of these days. So, if you're watching on YouTube, this is probably pre-recorded. Anyway, with me as always is my boy Tommy Gunn.
What's up, everybody?
Hey.
So you're playing Watchdogs tonight?
I'm still on the intro.
Ah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Well, my bad.
I know. Every time.
I'm terrible with intros.
You are. Gosh.
We're gonna
Another person terrible at intros is myself.
Yeah.
I'll just give you a shot collar. When I start messing up, just push the button.
Oh my God.
Oh, shut your mouth, you thong-wearing fatty.
Yeah,
that'll work.
Chuck Dollar. Yeah. That's Chuck Dollar will be out of power soon.
Last but not least, David Applegate, the author.
Thank you. Another person. Glad to be here.
Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. Thomas, what are we going to do with you?
It's a good question.
I mean, you like Loki and all that other crap, so.
Don't get started on that unless you want to start it tonight.
But it's so bad.
I like it.
I like it.
But it's bad.
Because I don't know, I'm kind of biased though, because I kind of like the Loki story.
What story?
If you go to Greek mythology, his story's got a lot better stuff. He actually has 3 kids.
Norse mythology.
Yeah,
but that's not the show.
No, but they took some stuff.
But it doesn't matter because it's not the show.
I was just saying that's why I'm probably biased. Like, my whole thing is they had to give him a story where he came back. So, yeah, okay, the time travel thing, I get that. But I like the fact that it's something new. It ain't some watered down bullshit that they just keep coming up with.
It's pretty watered down.
You didn't like it when you opened the drawer and saw all the stones, did you?
That was awful.
Now, did you watch the whole thing?
Yeah. But I watched it, and then I watched a almost 2 hour breakdown. It was rough, dude.
I mean, I don't like the time travel bit. You know how I feel about that.
Now,
Look at these guys.
The thing is that there's an established set of events that happened.
Yeah. Now,
And
are they
then-
taking something from a comic book, or is this something that's freelance?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hey, look at me!
Douche! Hey, you!
Had it! Talking to me?
Yeah, I forget what it's taken from. So there's a set of established events that happen, right? Thor: The Dark World, and all those movies that came after would have from the time variance authority points of view have already happened, right? There's a timeline.
Plus, the time variant authority is such a dumb concept.
Yeah. So anything to do with time travel is going to be problematic. Unless you're like Doctor Who and just don't have an established timeline. And just use it as a vehicle from getting point A to point B.
But you gotta kind of hope the time travel thing works, Seth, because that's the only way you're gonna get Iron Man back.
I don't care. I'm so out of it. The MCU's trash. I don't care.
Yeah,
when was the tipping point for you?
Endgame.
Really? I thought it was Captain Marvel.
Endgame was so bad.
Captain Marvel was like kind of like that.
Captain Marvel is what ruined Endgame.
Yeah, that's true. If they would have kept her out, or she sacrificed herself.
No, God knows she shouldn't have sacrificed herself.
Why?
Because if she sacrificed herself, she becomes a martyr, and then everybody loves her.
Well, I'm not saying like maybe she tried to hit him and she slipped and fell, and the truck fell on her or something.
I mean, that would be nice. A truck, falling on her and stuff.
I don't know. It's the first episode. It seemed decent to me. I'll see where it goes. Totally.
See, I get it. They have a recording of the timeline showing Loki doing all these things. Then he's right. There's one mistake in it that is granted. They should have gone off at the Avengers for also time traveling, because if the Avengers didn't time travel, Loki wouldn't have gotten the Tesseract to escape.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't believe I just made this. I jumped from that onto the platform.
Yeah, I saw it.
Holy
I couldn't
crap.
believe it either. You landed on the handrail and just slipped in.
Now I don't know how I'm going to get down without dying. Oh.
He's able. Oh, there we go.
Right there. I'm going to slide off the edge into this little basket. Maybe. Oh, no. No.
Oh. You lived.
That's ridiculous. What'd you do that for?
No, I get it. They want to establish time variance authority because they wanted to do Loki in different places, different situations. So they wanted to use time travel as a vehicle. So they
Time
took it
travel,
from
man. Time travel sucks.
Yeah. They took it from Endgame when Loki escaped.
The only one that did time travel good was Back to the Future. Leave it at that.
Right, I'd agree.
Like, Back to the Future got it right because you were able, if you made mistakes in the past, you fucked everything up. So you had to fix it, so there's no point in time travel.
Right.
I didn't like Flash's version of going back in time because his way, you can never fix it. Like, no matter what you did, it would still come up screwed up.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
Yeah. Now, the thing is, from the Time Variance Authority's point of view, things have already happened. there was an established timeline. So if there was an established timeline, then and if the Avengers time travel was supposed to happen, then why wasn't Loki's from the Tesseract? You know what I mean? They have open. They did. I mean, they could have found a different way of doing it because they just basically not playing by their own rules from the start, and that's the problem with Endgame, not playing by their own rules. With Captain America going back in time. Who's the other one?
But they technically, what they should have done. I don't understand why they introduced time travel so soon, and they could have done the story without doing time travel.
Hey, are we safe to talk?
We're safe as anyone else on these streets. But you probably shouldn't hang around open too long. Not with your record.
You mean the...
Yeah, I'll mute this. I'll mute the audio.
Okay. What I mean by that is they could have made it where they defeated Thanos and retook the stones.
Yeah.
Do what now?
They could have, if they would have just went after Thanos after everything happened, like figured it out instead of waiting so long, they could have taken the stones from him and make it a great battle scene and everything like that.
Well, the problem is like when if Thor had gotten Thanos' head the first time, then the Time Variant Authority would have come out and like melted him.
Yeah.
Time Variant Authority didn't like that because he had to live, and the Time Variant Authority was alright with half the population getting snapped.
Yeah.
And that's a consistency problem or continuity problem because if they if that was the plan, then they wouldn't have allowed the Avengers to go back in time to save the people.
Endgame sucked.
What?
I said it. Endgame sucked.
Oh, I agree. Like, I hate Endgame.
There, I said
like,
it.
I completely stopped collecting the movies because, like, it just sucks.
The only thing I liked in Endgame was Fat Thor.
I didn't. That was an embarrassment.
It was finally a superhero I could relate to.
I don't need to relate. I don't want to relate to superheroes. I don't want a superhero to look like me. Superheroes are supposed to be jacked.
Well, yes. I understand that and everything, but I thought they were going to go, when I saw him as Fat Thor, I thought they were going to say he's King Thor. But they never did.
Yeah, because it was stupid. They're dumb. The writers
they don't want Thor to be Odin.
Listen, you have to appeal to that pre-Fortnite crowd.
And why didn't they throw Red Hulk in there? Like, they could have done that in the first somewhere in the Avengers movies. Throw Red Hulk in there, because that would have been a cool one to see them match up.
Well, it's coming out slowly that they don't have a plan. Well, they have a plan, but they sort of don't.
They have a plan written on a napkin.
They have a bunch of titles. That's their plan. They don't want to bring out too many at once because they don't want to be overloaded like they did before with other franchises.
And I'm tired of them, like the Endgame and everything was Endgame and the what was the other one? Infinity War. They wanted to cram down Black Panther and all the Wakanda stuff.
Yeah, they didn't develop
that's
any.
All they wanted to show.
Yeah. At first, they didn't want any of this to take. They wanted those as a draw card, but they didn't want to take away from Endgame, so they just threw them in there. You know what I mean? And it's like, we know you threw it. We know you didn't plan Captain Marvel originally because she wasn't in the timeline until we got close to Endgame, and then they updated the timeline of the movies.
Which means physical evidence is all we got to go by. We need that car.
If they won't give us a proper timeline of movies, how are we going to, know what characters is coming up? Because not everybody's going to go see every movie, right? A lot of people didn't see Ant-Man because they didn't know who Ant-Man is. And, comedies aren't as big as the draw card as they used to be.
That's true.
I think you look at the different turnout for the movies, Marvel is hoping that people become Marvel fans and turn out for everything they produce. Well, that ain't going to happen, especially after the debacle of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where people got, season 7 or 8, they turned around and said, oh, it's not canon.
Okay, I think I got a good handle on the layout. You see anything you can use to
So people said, why watch it?
think of a couple things? Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it's like this one of these things of like quit while you're ahead type of deal and come up with something new and better. But it's like they're just basically taking everything that's already established IP and they're like, all right, what can we do now to just give it a new fresh coat of paint? Because that's essentially what it feels like every single time now. Even the comics. Look at this now. How many iterations of Captain America we have now?
Too many.
Well, the only thing is they didn't do a mashup with like Iron Man and Wolverine, and there was a bunch of comics with Iron Man and Wolverine in it.
Well, we know why the X-Men weren't in the movies.
Yeah, but didn't they get the rights back? Couldn't they have waited until they got the rights back before they kill him off?
I don't know. To be honest, listen, some of the stuff I'll give some of the stuff in Endgame credit. Some of it was okay. It wasn't a great movie. Like Infinity War just set the bar so high up as far as what their movie should have been like when they do these major crossovers between their characters, that it's like, damn, how do you top this? How do you really top a story like this where not only the villain wins, but he's kind of like the sympathetic character in the end. He's the one that you're rooting for. The Avengers are pretty much the villains in that whole movie, and I've always been adamant in that stance. By the end of the movie, you see a face turn for Thanos, where Thanos goes from being the villain to being the hero, and the Avengers are the heel. They're the bad guy that needs to be defeated, which is crazy. I don't think that was ever their intention, but if it was, holy fucking shit, they pulled off something pretty fucking awesome in that movie. And it's like, can you do anything just as awesome ever again? And I think they just cannot. Like, that was their peak, and they're still trying to find a way to like get that same reaction. What was it about, like, people saying that people were legit like sad in theaters because Thanos won and the kids were crying at the end? I heard something about that. I don't know if that's true. Did you guys hear anything about that?
Yeah, I did hear a lot. I did hear that there were a lot of girls who cried when Thanos won because it's like, no, that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, well, that's life. Sometimes the bad guy, or in this case, the good guy, depending which side, which way you view it, wins. It's just a part of life, and that's why one of the reasons I hated Endgame was because it's like all it really was, well, you guys were sore losers about losing, that you had to basically go back in time to undo everything that happened, make Thanos an asshole again, just to justify your, these are facts of life. And if they had taken a more mature route with it, I probably could have said Endgame could have been one of the best, an even better movie. It could have been the peak, but no, they took the very like predictable approach. And now if you talk about time travel not making any sense, like what exactly is Marvel doing with time travel in their movies? It's like, to me, I don't understand it. It's just they're just making shit up and saying, oh well, this can be explained because of the time stone or this stone or that stone. I'm like, I don't think you guys even have any idea of how your own continuity works. It just doesn't make sense.
Time travel's a lazy get out of painted into a quarter situation. Oh, we need to move a character from here to here. How do we do it? Time travel. Oh, wouldn't it be great if we had X-Men in the 18th century? We can. Time travel. It's just basically, instead of doing X-Men in the 18th century, come up with new characters. You know what I mean? But they don't want to do that.
I mean, didn't essentially, even though they're not, I mean, in a way they were slash not weren't X-Men. Actually, I don't think they actually ever were. I don't know if I've ever read every comic out there, so I wouldn't know. But couldn't they have done what they did already with Quicksilver and what's her name? Scarlet Witch, what they did in what was that, a second movie? The Ultron movie. Like, just don't call them mutants, call them something different, but you still kind of essentially have the essence of the character in it.
New humans, enhanced humans,
Yeah, like you could have done that,
metahumans.
and then later when you got the rights, just say, well, now they've been reclassified as mutants. Boom, done.
Didn't say, yeah. I think we had this conversation before where we said, right, so you don't have the rights, but you do have some characters. So go with those characters and then say down the track, oh, it's starting to happen. You know, there's more of these people. Where are all these superpowers coming from? And then Ross comes out and says, you studied your bloody sample, and apart from, let's say, we've been studying, apart from, say, Thor and a couple of other characters, right, who can be explained by magic, right? They say, well, these people, it did something to them. You know what I mean? It changed their genetics. They couldn't do, but eventually you're just going to have to go with the fact that all superpowers are magic.
All right, I'm ready. They're inbound, so.
A wizard did it.
Good luck, kid.
Yeah, a wizard did it. But say with the mutants, right? Oh, they changed. Humans couldn't do magic, but then all of a sudden these changes happened, and it enabled them to do magic where they couldn't before.
I don't know. You know, it's funny. I know. I vaguely remember that we had these conversations before. You actually have much better memory than I do. But I don't know. It's just one of those. I mean, I'm listening to some of the stuff some of these other YouTubers post about like what's going on in Marvel's comic, like what are they doing in the comics and whatnot, and it's like it's terrible.
The biggest train wreck in Marvel right now, I'm sorry, is Winter Soldier and
Huh? The Wannacock.
Winter Soldier and the Falcon. That series sucked.
Nobody was talking about that.
That was, Falcon getting, upset and sympathetic over Carly. I'm sorry, she was not a sympathetic character. She murdered people to make her point because she says that's the only language they understand, and it's like she's basically toxic to the hilt, and somehow she's sympathetic.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to take your word on that. Excuse me, because I'm losing my mind a bit. Take your word on that.
A lot of people tuned out. I think in the second episode.
No, I didn't watch it at all. I'll be honest with you. I'm done with anything like comic book hero related because it's at this point like, okay, so we just had Joker 2 announced. Like, is it really necessary? I'm kind of already burnt out from seeing so many like all this new hero stuff. I want to see something fresh. Like that's one of the reasons why I enjoyed Godzilla, because it was just fresh, refreshing to go back to something different, like kaiju's. Maybe try to bring back westerns, and hopefully we can finally get some cowboys versus Indians again, and one slaughter the other, both of them slaughter each other. Have gratuitous
Cowboys versus Aliens was actually a decent movie.
That could have been, but no, as soon as you throw alien tech in there and just have them and have the aliens somehow incompetent, no.
I got something else to take care of up here. Find me somewhere safe I can leave this thing.
Times like this, I wish I was a hentai artist. I would have added a spin to that title.
Cowboys and Aliens is a good idea, poorly done.
I mean, I heard some people enjoyed it. And I didn't watch it. I just had no interest in it. It didn't look appealing to me when I saw it. The trailer, I mean.
Yeah, it could have been good, but it's like so many movies. They just wanted to rush to the action.
Hmm.
They in order to in order to set the scene. Oh, they had to put how do we overcome the power differential? Oh, we just make the aliens incompetent or don't care or don't feel threatened. Instead of just making it like 3 aliens, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, give them a fighting chance.
Yeah, you have all these cowboys and you have 3 aliens and one of them's lost their gun and the other one, you know, and then have the other one, like that. I'm the pilot, of course, So you've only got one armed alien, and instead of having them fly over and do all these capture people with nets things, they should have them on some sort of countdown clock where they got to get the band together, get their shit together, find the aliens before the aliens bug out with all the gold they mine.
What was the movie called where the guy had like his face burnt? He was a cowboy, John Hex or something.
Jonah Hex, I think was.
That was a decent movie.
So was Vampire. So was the Korean vampire movie. That it was a comic book too, but they canned it, and I don't, because it was just right after Twilight, and of course people didn't want to go back to. Women didn't want to give up their sparkly vampire hunky toys.
Yeah, talk about a franchise that ruined a genre.
Oh yeah. Two genres actually ruined vampires and werewolves.
Oh yeah, I forgot it ruined the Lycan rooms. Fucking hell. It's crazy because the movie that kind of got people renewed interest in both was the one with Kate Beckinsale. Was it Underworld? I think it was.
Underworld, yeah.
And those were pretty badass movies for the most part. And talk about having a badass female character. There was 2 freaking movies with her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, people's memories are so short, and others just don't want to watch anything that wasn't created in their current timeline, which is sad. This is why you raise your kids, ladies and gentlemen, to appreciate the classics. Otherwise, they'll just watch whatever's on YouTube trending, and that hasn't been over 24 hours old. And that was a badass movie, and that actually got it's crazy because I think that series came out in high school, and I had a friend in high school who was really big into like all sorts of like, at the time, again, anime was a very niche thing still here in the US. Anime, anything related to like demonology, the occult, supernatural, like those really reserved for special nerds or people who are really into that stuff. So we started like, there was documentaries about like how do you pronounce it, like lycanthropy, something like that. I need some help here.
Sorry, I got mesmerized by him driving.
No, I just can't think of the words you're after.
Thanks.
That's the word.
I'm really trying. Like, I've really been tired at work lately. So if I'm like all over the place with my thoughts and my speech, it's just understand it's that. But yeah, but fucking that was awesome. And then I will never forget when I first found out about Twilight. I had a Gen X, and I'm like, all right, that sounds cool. Vampires, right? Yeah, all right, let's go. I'm trying to read through this shit, and it's like, what the fuck am I reading? And then the movie comes out, and I'm like, I'm done. I completely tuned out. You ruined vampires for me. And then as I would find out, thanks for reminding me, Dave, it would also ruin werewolves for me because it is. I mean, and that's not to say that it couldn't have had, it been its own thing and still kept the two relevant for a long time, but it just completely took over the genre and just destroyed it within.
I've been watching trends. So we've had the vampire trend with Twilight and stuff, and we had the zombie trend with The Walking Dead and stuff. and werewolf with like the werewolf and vampire fighting.
Yeah.
Is the next one gonna be aliens? Because I know it's like a slight trend, but it seems like that's what's gonna be next.
Well, actually, they're trying to make they're trying to go back and make elves a thing with but not Tolkien elves, with Lord of the Rings reboot. They're trying to I don't know exactly what they're trying to do
I'm
because
gonna
they
be
haven't put
honest.
anything out.
I did
But they're
not like
trying to
Lord of the Rings.
but they're trying to make Lord of the Rings a thing, but not Lord of the Rings as Tolkien wrote it, but a reboot. But the thing is, they're not putting any material out, so there's why they keep talking about a show. They won't give us any details on the cast. Who's in it? Who's Sauron? Who's playing Sauron? They won't tell us. That's problematic. Now they're saying, "Oh, Tolkien never wrote about color." Oh, so now I get it. It's going to be a black Game of Thrones.
It's probably what it's going to be, and I'm pretty sure Tolkien was really specific in his world building. So, again, for those that know more than I would, please feel free to correct me. But I'm pretty sure he specified all that sort of thing.
He did in the notes. He did in his notes. Yeah.
Those books are like freaking encyclopedias. Come on, you can't tell me the man didn't specify.
He even went so far into mentioning the fact that one of the problems the elves had is a lot of them married their cousins. So yeah, okay, thanks. Move on.
Well, that kind of where how many jokes can be made up of that?
It's the Alabama, it's the Alabama, Tennessee back, hills.
Like Alabama elves. Run your imaginations with that one, people. Actually, you know what? This might sound like a really fucked up thought, but what if the Keebler elves are the product of those elves that you're talking about? Now we know the dark truth, ladies and gentlemen. Tolkien created the Keebler elves.
I would hope that the whole darker aspects of Tolkien and Middle Earth, the whole Sauron War thing, when I read The Lord of the Rings, I sort of I would have liked to have read that story. How did the world of men get destroyed in the Second Age? When they had everything, and then now that you've seen The Lord of the Rings, you don't want to go back and see a prequel to something you know the answer to. You know what I mean?
Mm.
You know how the story's going to end. Why are you reading? There's no journey there. It's not like Lord of the Rings where you have a journey. Where with the great battle of the Second Age, sure, I would have liked to have seen that, but since we got such a big epic battle, and we got why do we need another one? You know what I mean? That's why people have tuned out of The Hobbit. The Hobbit was because The Hobbit in the books ended with the Battle of the Lake,
Mm-hmm.
and that should have been it. Peter Jackson wanted to do a story a particular way. The studio said, no, we've got the money. You're doing it our way.
I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna sit through all three of the Lord of the Rings and then the Hobbit too. I'm done. I'll just get to the juicy bits and I'll say I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, I think that. See, if they didn't call it The Hobbit,
Someone's hacking me. Where you at?
and they didn't have the hobbits in it, you know what I mean? If they just had the Battle of the Five Armies, that would have been fine.
Probably. I mean, hindsight's 2020. Like looking back on a lot of things, but who knows? Maybe you're right.
Also, there is the possibility that because you don't know the outcome and like you don't know it's going to be good or bad sometimes with the audience because
Mm.
we've rarely seen reboots outdo their or sequels outdo the originals, but that's happened.
Yeah. I mean, there've been several sequels that actually. I mean, what was it? The biggest myth of all time that Spider-Man 3 was a flop, and yet it was the one that made the most.
Yeah, made the most. Yeah, they
What'd
all
y'all
made
think
over
about
700
Venom?
million.
What happened?
What'd y'all think about Venom?
I like
Haven't
it.
seen it. I'll have to. Maybe one of these days I'll watch it. I mean, but that's a big if. There's a lot of stuff I have yet to catch up on. So for all I know, I may never get around to it.
Ah, I watched the first one. That was good. It was like it was a 50-50 chance of you liking it. Like I figure that it should be more to the story.
Hmm.
I think they've wasted too much time on the relationship. They should have.
Like they went straight to a strong enemy in the first movie. Like that's the one good thing that Marvel did is the first Avengers. It wasn't the strongest enemy. It was Loki.
Yeah, that too. Venom should not have started with Venom. You know, Duck. Venom should have been. It's not like honestly, they shouldn't have reintroduced Venom for a start. You know,
They
it would
should
have
have
been
not
nice
named
if
it
they had
Venom.
some continuity. You know, that this Venom, you know how they keep rebooting everything. That's the problem. Why would we want to go back and watch Spider Man when it has no connection to the movies today? You know what I mean? Like, say if Toby, I don't like the Spider-Verse thing where they're saying now we're going to tie Toby Maguire and Garland to Tom Holland. And it's like, too late, man. You should have just given us the Venom. You should have said, right, Venom, you know, show Venom in a lab, but instead of being from space, we collected it from space, we extracted this from a kid 20 years ago, you know? And, you know, the real antagonist of this was Elon Musk, basically. You know, that's basically what they're trying to go. We're trying to go for, right? Evil genius.
I mean, he is one in real life.
Yeah, but they total they totally ruined that by turning around and then dumping a Venom on him. You know, then it just becomes like every other superhero fight where they're basically fighting a dark version of themselves.
So that was their okay. So the Venom. Okay, as far as a franchise, so they introduced Venom, you know, as a character as your protagonist, and the boss in the first movie is his dark version.
Well,
Like,
yeah, you have evil Elon Musk experimenting on the Venom, right?
yeah.
And you have Eddie Brock who gets hold of one of them, and he eventually wants to, you know, he eventually gets pulled into liberating his brothers and sisters, and
Mhm.
then he fights evil Elon Musk because his evil brothers and sisters want to destroy the world.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead on a limb here, but I feel based on what you're telling me, I feel like I've heard this somewhere before in a different movie. Hear me out on
Yeah,
this one. Wasn't
Yeah.
it? Doesn't that sound so closely similar to what happens in the first Iron Man movie? Think about it,
Yeah.
because Iron Man. Okay, so we all know like the story of Iron Man, the Iron Mongrel. Basically, it's essentially a larger version of the Iron Man suit. Trying to replicate what Tony Stark did. I forgot the guy's name, but basically, he was also essentially an evil genius himself, and he just wanted to. And essentially, Tony was fighting like essentially, I won't say a clone of himself, but an evil version of someone like himself,
Jeff
essentially.
Bridges.
And
Oh.
and now he has this power to do good and yada yada yada. So that's kind of what I'm getting the vibe from him. Based on what you guys are telling me. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm getting from what you guys just described to me.
Yeah. The weird thing is Jeff Bridges made smoking smoking a cigar whilst using a Segway look cool.
I mean, that man just has a tendency of doing some weird things and making it look like the most chill thing out there. So why the fuck not,
Oh, yeah, he's just Obadiah Stane. Just the name, everything about him is off. But at the same time, you know, he's just so super chill that he just doesn't give a shit.
Sometimes the best villains really are the ones that you can kind of just get behind, like they got this certain charm about them that is like damn, if there wasn't a bad guy, I would want to actually hang out with this person, or fuck it all. He's our version of Hank Scorpio right now. Let's just fucking chill with the guy. He wants to take over the world, let him do it.
Oh, and it wasn't like Hank Scorpio didn't have a motive.
I think he just wanted to take over the world, but he succeeded. What was it? He
No,
took
well,
over the West Coast, was it?
he was fighting the UN, so
Yep.
it wasn't like he wasn't fighting bad. It wasn't like he was fighting Tony Stark or a so-called good guy here.
Well, considering in hindsight now that Hank Scorpion was fighting the UN, I think Hank Scorpion was really the true hero. I'll just leave it at that.
So I'm looking for
Yeah.
another serve. Let me know when you're hooked in.
Although, what was one of my favorite lines from that scene where he met with the UN, and he's like, "All right, just to prove that I'm serious," he blows up the bridge, and I forgot what the representatives of which country they were from, and they're like, "Oh, maybe the bridge blew up itself," and then he's like, he scoffs at it. He's like, "The bridge blew up itself." Like, you guys are idiots. And he told him, like, I don't know, I think he said like you have 24 hours or something. Like, he gave him an ultimatum right there at that response. Like, it was just such a evil villain thing to say. They don't make them anymore like they do Hex, like the Simpsons did with Hex Scorpion.
Yeah. See,
Oh.
I know from the comic books how Tony Stark comes back.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you don't need time travel. So, you don't need to worry about that. You don't need time travel to bring Tony Stark back. I
You could always clone him.
I just think they really don't have a plan other than they put together a bunch of titles and then say, we'll put together a bunch of showrunners and we'll get them to try and tie everything in. We'll go over the writing as it's been done. They don't have the stories yet,
That's probably the problem. Like, they announced all these things ahead of time, and it's like, all right, so you announced all these titles, but did you guys really have a plan behind anything, or were you guys just gonna think that the name brand was gonna carry it and call it a day?
Yeah, that's it.
I don't
And
think they knew anything that they wanted to do. I think they had an idea, but there's too many cooks in the kitchen.
that's another problem with entertainment. Like, okay, so I'm sorry if I'm cutting anybody off as before this. Again, I do apologize. But we were discussing this with my brother about, like, for example, not just wrestling but entertainment in general. And one of the biggest problems nowadays is that in a lot of media, there's a lot of like these like you said, it's so many people, too many cooks in the kitchen, all throwing in, pitching their ideas of what should be in it, but nobody's actually saying, well, hey, wait a second, let's take a moment. Let's actually look over this rough draft before we present it as a final product. Like, and all you have is yes, man. Basically saying, yeah, this is a good, this is good, this is good, this is good. Let's throw it out there and it sounds good. But when you actually see the final product, it sucks. It does. There's nothing entertaining about it. It's creatively bankrupt. And essentially over glorified bad fan fiction.
Because they're trying to add elements to the story that weren't there before. So, in order to add elements to the story and keep it under 3 hours, they have to take other elements out. Most people understand that, right? If you're going to add identity politics, you have to take out all the other emotion building scenes, or you have to alter them. And once you start altering the product, it's no longer Iron Man. It's no longer Spider-Man. It's Iron Boy. You know, it's no longer. Iron Man wasn't a big character, and yeah, essentially most of his villains were weak. You'd have Tony Stark dealing with his demons most of the time. Being drunk, people trying to take his company off him. All those things.
Which is crazy because the drunk part they actually explored in the second Iron Man movie.
Yeah, demon in a bottle. Tony, for all his successes, had daddy issues.
Pretty much. He hated daddy and he loved his mom too much.
Yeah. The thing is, his father is just like him, driven to success. His father couldn't connect with his son. His son was too busy trying to get praise from his father for everything he did. And his father looked at him and said, no, that's, and compared it to himself, his father said, basically, oh, you did this? Well, when I was your age, I did better. So I expect you to do better than me. Go away, and it's like.
Yeah, well, there's one thing I don't understand, and maybe again, this is hindsight about that. But didn't in the second movie essentially Tony Stark watch the video that his dad left him behind, saying like, "Hey, this is my legacy, Tony. I leave this to you." Essentially, kind of in a way saying to him, "Hey, I'm entrusting you with something greater that I can't trust anybody else." Essentially, saying, "Hey, look, this is probably the closest I'll ever get to saying the words, I'm proud of you," or something. I don't know if he actually said it or not. And that's what we got the teaser of the Captain Shield, the original prototype.
Yeah.
Howard Stark created. And wait a second. So in that movie, he essentially, because again, when Tony gets back to fight what's his name, Whiplash in round 2 with Rhodey, he's basically using what his dad left behind, the schematics, to fight. I forgot. Like he became like I forgot what was the name in the comic of this new upgraded version of Whiplash, essentially. And it's like then later on we go to what was it, Civil War, and it goes back to, oh hey, I got daddy issues again. And it's like, Tony, one of the things that bothered me about that was that I understand he was a lot closer with his mom because it was, he didn't connect a lot with his dad, but it's like, didn't you already start the healing process of getting to slowly come to terms the relationship between you and your father, and now it's kind of like they just completely neglected that in Civil War, because when they made the reveal at the end, I don't remember him getting upset about the fact it was his dad. Although he did mention the shield, like, "Hey, the shield, that was my dad's doing. My dad made that." But when he found out that Bucky killed his parents, he's like, "He murdered my mom." Like, he specifically went for the mentioning his mother. And I don't know, that always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I think it was a bit over the top. He should have known it was Hydra,
Mhm.
and he should have been asking who gave. He should have been asking who. Not Bucky, not hey Bucky, you did it. Acting like a 10-year-old would. I'm sick and tired of adults lashing out like a 10-year-old. Tony Stark knew Hydra was behind it all along. He should have been saying, "Yeah, who gave the orders?"
Hell, he even knew that Bucky was brainwashed into obeying every order. So it's
Yeah.
like, I
Well,
don't know.
couldn't tell. Yeah, he should have been asking lots of questions like, how do they contact you? Working towards getting a Hydra, not having a hissy fit over Bucky. Like I said, he was acting like a 10-year-old. You killed my parents.
It's like they completely went backwards on his character at some point. Like they did a good job by the second movie, I think, establishing like some character development for him, like going from this narcissistic playboy character that
Narcissistic alcoholic, yeah. Playboy, yeah.
and to someone who's really coming to terms like, hey, maybe I need to improve even though I have all these advantages that I had in life thanks to his dad, because he got to enjoy all his hedonistic behavior basically as a result of what his dad left behind. I mean, granted, that's not to say that Tony Stark himself didn't have his own merits, but a lot of the stuff that he had, like his fortune and whatnot, came from the fact of who his father was and what his father left behind for him. He even acknowledges it in Civil War, like the beginning of it. It kind of like when he does a little presentation with that weird device that lets you see a person's thoughts. It's like in hindsight acknowledging the fact, like it's like his dad and his mom, like their legacy is the reason why he has what he has. Essentially, if you think about it, the same in a way, kind of like the same way how Bruce Wayne, after his parents passed away, do you really honestly think if he didn't have some of the resources his dad left behind, like his fortune and stuff, that he could have pulled off becoming Batman in the way that he did?
It's really weird. He became his father.
He really did.
And to some extent, I'm not sure about the Batman, although he sort of became his father, but Tony Stark really became like his father. And it was as revealed in the Spider-Man movie, spoiler alert, Tony was just as bad as his father was at giving credit.
Yep. I mean, listen, so you take after your parents, especially in Tony Stark's way, which again, I think probably that's better continuity. But it just bothers me, especially what you say, Dave, that he goes back to reverting to being a 10-year-old child and emotional. It's like by now you would have thought we would have seen more from him. It would have been interesting to see, like in hindsight, what a more mature Tony Stark, who was past all that, could have accomplished in the MCU. Because at the end of the day, regardless if the comics are your source material, there's certain liberties that you can take with the MCU and the movies that may not be in the comics.
But from Demon in a Bottle, he went forward. He didn't go back to being an alcoholic. So why did they revert the character in the movies when in the comics he didn't revert back to his old self?
Hell,
It's
even
like
in
they rebooted. It's like they're constantly rebooting the character back to his whiny, that whiny young geek who wanted the Iron Man suit to get revenge on everybody because he was weak. That's his permanent character.
Now, what they screwed up with was the Hulk. They literally screwed the pooch on that one.
They screwed it up 3 times.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, at least Edward Norton liked the Hulk character, so at least he was trying.
Yeah.
Actually, there was nothing wrong with the movies. It was all the behind-the-scenes drama of working with Norton. They didn't like working with Norton.
Yeah, well, he's a difficult actor to deal with, from what I understand. But
I can neither confirm or deny that because I'm just going by what other people said. But Brie Larson was difficult to work with, and yet they brought her back.
yeah, I wonder why. You know what, Edward Norton? It's 2021. If you start, damn it, guys, what is the female version of Edward? What would be the female version name of Edward?
Edwina.
Edwina? Yeah, if you decide to call yourself Edwina, you could probably become the Hulk now. Just saying.
Yeah.
We'll probably get the She-Hulk next.
Oh, God, no.
What's up?
What's up, man?
Hey.
Having fun. I seen you streaming. I jumped on, but then I was like, well, I got to go deal with these dogs real quick and all that good fun stuff.
Reminds me of the days when we used to stream with Lape. Oh, man. I wonder where he's at right now. Lape, if you're listening to this or not, just know I do miss you, brother.
Well, let's see. It's what, Saturday morning? He's sleeping. He's sleeping in.
He has to recharge his powers because, as you guys know, are you guys familiar with some of the old Lape's old jokes I used to make?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he has to recharge his batteries so he can be with his queen Gal Gadot.
So, Adam, we had a little debate on Loki and is it good or bad? I said it's decent. Like,
right.
I'm still intrigued by it.
No, you said it was good.
Well, I mean, it is good. Like, I did enjoy the first episode, so I'm intrigued. Like, the first episode was good. Now, if they fuck it up, they fuck it up.
Well, it's kind of funny because I just, while I was waiting on the time, I ended up jumping on Clown World Reviews with ETEP and Angelus Draven, and then that kind of ran over. We talked about that a little bit. They talked about it earlier on in the show and whatnot. And basically, I mean, you already know if you read your text message I sent you. But of course, that's probably a no. But, I obviously know Seth was not a big fan, but that's okay. We won't hold that against him. The way I looked at it, like it was fine for a pilot episode. There was some bits in there that, there was a lot of exposition, a lot of talking. A lot of over-explaining and shit. But at the end of the day, if you take it the fact that it's the 2012 Loki right out of the Avengers movie and none of the other shit had happened, it kind of makes sense, but it reminds me more of a what-if comic, right? That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like Endgame in the first place, but I always kind of wondered, I'm like, well, what... that Loki escaped. Whatever happened to him? So the fact that they actually did something with it was kind of cool. But I mean, they have kind of shat the bed with every other, the other two, that we've had that they did this with. But apparently, I don't know. There's rumors that there might be multiple seasons of this. That it's also going to tie into the Phase 4. So we'll see what they do. But for a pilot episode, I thought it was all right. It wasn't the worst. It surely wasn't the best.
It kind of gave me the vibe of Doctor Who.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, but overall, like a lot of people are upset about the Infinity Stone thing, and like I didn't have a problem with that because they kind of explained that in Endgame as well. Well, if you take the stone from here, this, and this, but it just the fact of the matter is, right? They backed themselves in the corner when they did the Infinity Stones because that's the most powerful shit in the universe. And then now you find out it's not the most powerful shit in the universe. So you're kind of like, well, So like I said, we'll see what they do with it. But again, I did not have an issue. I'd rather watch this than Jessica Jones.
Yes.
Oof.
Now, as they said, they're out of the universe. Like Infinity Stones only work in the universe they came from.
Right.
It's like the Tesseract doesn't work because it's like taking a Tesseract from one universe or one timeline into another. They won't work. They're magic. It's like, why does Loki's magic not work there? Because it's outside of his universe.
Yep. So, I mean, they explained it, and I was okay with it. I mean, a lot of people are saying, well, it makes the deaths not mean anything. And I'm like, I mean, I guess if you want to spin it that way, you can. I don't think that's what they were really going for. But then again, it's Disney, so who knows? We need Father of Nine here to chill for the Disney.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like I said, I watched it like 3 times, and just to make sure. And I'm like, overall, as we find out, so there's another Loki, or is it, it's like, oh, or is it this Loki? Because a lot of people are like, well, they're making him a good guy. And I'm like, I did not get that. The fact that he's showing emotion. Well, you just watched yourself get killed, right? Like all your worldly plans from 2012, the Loki of 2012 that wants to rule the world, right? And then he finds out that it's his fault that his mom died because of what he did in the second Thor movie. He doesn't know because that didn't happen. And then he sees Thanos off his ass, and he sees Odin die. And you can't tell me that he did not want to rule Asgard while Odin was alive just to give him the middle finger, right? I mean, that's my take on it. Like, so a lot of what his plans were just got undone. And like he's saying constantly, I will do what I want to do. And they're telling him, no, that's not the way it works. So that is kind of a messed up thought where there is no free will, if you will. But like I said, I don't know. I myself did not hate it at all. I watched it and I was like, okay, let's see what they do with it, though, because they've shit the bed with everything else.
But the thing is, about that no free will thing is, remember, the Time Varying Authority has a record of Loki's life. They're just making sure it plays out as it already had.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's playing out a second time is because they were forward in time, then they went backwards to the beginning of time to establish the Time Variance Authority, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
They started in the future, so everything that deviates from the timeline is stopped by them before it gets to the point where you have a second time war, because you have all the gods doing as they please rather than doing what they can do within the limits of their realm.
Yeah, because like they said, it was a multiverse, and then they made one verse, and they're trying to keep it as one universe, which made sense too. So like I said, overall, I didn't have an issue with it. It did have some good points to it, and some of the people that have been complaining, it's all about the stones and oh, well, that makes these deaths not mean anything. And I'm like, yeah, I don't see that. But again, like I said, man, I enjoyed it. I didn't have a problem with anything in it. I want to see this other Loki, though.
Makes me feel like you're looking into the globe of the Avengers. Like you're looking at it from a different point of view. But it doesn't. It makes me curious because I want to say, well, why is there 2 Lokis and why is one trying to kill all the time people?
Well, so here's like the weird part that I was talking about when he's talking to Loki and telling him, "Well, we're looking for you." What if it's you, as in you, that's standing right there right now, but they don't know that at this time point, right? Because like Loki, God of mischief, right? He's gonna fuck you. You already know that. That's Loki's game plan. He's gonna, So people are like, oh, well, when he says he doesn't like doing the things, and I'm like, that's a Loki move, though. That would be him. He knows what you're doing to him, so he's gonna ham it up a bit and then get your guard down so that he can then stab you with a knife or, turn himself into a bunny rabbit and then into a rattler and bite you and kill you. That's my take on it.
And the other thing that's bothering people is Loki being transgender or gender fluid. And I have a spoiler alert for you. In Norse mythology, he's gender fluid.
Well, at the end of the day, though, Loki can turn into anything. That was the whole point of Mitch. So, you think you're going out on a date with a chick, and the next thing you know, you got a pecker in your hand instead, and it's Loki going, "Gotcha, bitch." But I mean, this whole gender fluid shit and all this other crap, go fuck yourself. I'm so tired of hearing them bitch, moan, and complain. We'll see what happens. I think it's supposedly a 6 episodes is what we're getting.
Yeah, 6 50-minute episodes. It's not variant like the WandaVision is. It's pretty consistent. Now, like I said, yeah, there's actually a bit more of Loki into this. It's in the fact that we're not going to get Tom Hiddleston Loki all the time. We're going to get Dark Loki, from the Thor comics, where Loki loses his mind and just every evil impulse he has, he acts on. Because Loki in the Loki comics is different from Loki in the Thor comics.
Right.
So we're getting the Thor Loki, the Loki. We're getting all the different iterations of Loki, not just from the comics, but also a little bit of mythology in Loki. I don't think we're going to get the mare Loki that gets pregnant, but we're getting 3 different Lokis. So I think that exploration is, what if you do meet yourself, or what if you met the best version of yourself and the worst version of yourself?
Yeah. Because, I mean, like I said, man, 2012, we're going back to that Loki. And there's I was talking with some of the guys on Wednesday, and Jez was like, yeah, but that Loki didn't really care. And I'm like, but you don't really know how he felt about,
different people.
The mom and I mean, like, you knew he wanted to take over everything. And to me, the icing on the cake was when he watches himself die, when Thanos kills him. And it's just the expression on his face where it's like he knows. To me, that was where, he's like, wait a minute. So all my schemes, everything I did, it doesn't matter because I'm dead in the end. Well, shit, I'm going to have to change something,
Wasn't it? I love both of my sons. You have a glorious purpose.
Yep.
And that instilled in the Loki that he has some sort of destiny. And when he sees that destiny die in the hands of Thanos, he's complete. See, every criminal when they're caught goes through the stage of grieving, right?
Yeah.
And that put him in the acceptance stage. That's like, oh fuck, my glorious purpose. And of course, that immediately activates the Loki mode in him and says, well, there's only one way out of the TVA. That's either body bag or as an agent.
Well, at the end of the day, what is Loki always after? Power, right? Now he's like, is this the most power in the universe? Because before you thought it was the stones, or you thought it was this or that. And then you're finding out that none of that shit mattered, So it is what it is. Like I said, people are going to complain because they love to complain at the end of the day, and it doesn't matter who likes it, who doesn't like it. At the end of the day, it's just a show. Sometimes people just put too much into it. But like I said, I liked it. I didn't have any issues with it. I want to see what they do with it. For a pilot episode, it made me go, okay, I want to see where they go from here, especially the end, the way it ended out, with the murderous Loki. It's like, oh, that's a bad mofo right there.
See, you guys. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, it was a clever trap, well within Loki's character, considering that they just dismissed it as oil.
Yeah, especially in that time frame, in the 1800s. So, yeah.
Also, given their power, it's just oil, man. Like we've got sticks that can disintegrate people.
Yeah, it worked real well against fire now, didn't it?
Exactly. And like it comes back to what you said, if it turns out that they're giving everything, they've told Loki to catch Loki, they're thinking, oh, we'll interview Loki to catch Loki. And if it turns out that, no, they just handed him keys to the kingdom, well, that's well within Loki. That is, established.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So what's up, SMP?
Honestly, I was going to say a few things, but I didn't want to cut you guys off because you guys were actually making some interesting points about the show. Just, again, I'm completely blind to this whole thing. I know that I care to watch the show, but what you guys described is actually pretty much an eye-opener. one thing I wanted to say was about the whole gender fluid thing. Yes, there's actually precedents in the comics of Loki being a female, a hot female at that, and
But it's
and
also canon in Norse mythology.
yeah, no, and it was canon in the series too.
Yeah.
If you look, okay, so in the I don't know exactly when it happened, but when I started reading comics around the right after Secret Invasion happened in Marvel, when Norman Osborn took over essentially as the head of Shield, and I think he was the one that named it Hammer. I might be wrong, but he did take over it. And
Okay,
basically,
well,
what happened?
I got to add one thing.
Yeah,
If you go back to the Legend of Loki,
yeah,
you know Thor's sister, the one he had to face in Ragnarok.
hello.
Hela's actually, if you look it up in the original, that was his daughter.
Yeah, Hel. Yeah,
Yeah.
Hel was Loki's
And
daughter.
Helena
would
was
be
his daughter,
funny-
Loki's daughter.
It
Yep.
would be funny if that is his daughter, and Thor's dad takes her from Loki to raise her. And then
Yeah,
they think everybody thinks that's his sister when it's actually his daughter from the past.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? No, that would be cool if they spend it that way.
Right.
Because they kind of do look alike.
Which is funny you mentioned that, because if you look, okay, so if you guys ever get a chance, look up Marvel Dark Reign and look up Loki during that time period. Again, I don't know when exactly Loki decided to become a female in the Marvel universe, if that happened prior to. I just know from the start of, from the end of Secret Invasion, because again, that's as far as I backtracked it to for my purposes. And when Norman Osborn starts his secret cabal, which includes him, Emma Frost, Loki, Doctor Doom, Namor the Submariner, and at the time a new villain that got introduced. His name was I believe it was the Red Hood or something like that. I believe he was in that cabal. Later they ended up replacing some characters. I might be wrong. If I am, please correct me, guys. I might be off by a character. I'm sorry. But Loki was a female in that one. And if you notice it kind of has a resemblance to Hela in many ways. And it's funny that in relation to Doctor Doom, there is a what if comic. Like, what if Doctor Doom overthrew Osborn and took over the entire cabal and made himself like the true leader? The two people that he kills Osborn. He takes over Red Hood, which basically has the powers of Dormammu, from what I understand. And he enslaves Emma Frost and female Loki. Like, he actually enslaves them, like bondage and chains and everything. Like, they're his part of his concubine, so to speak. And he's there on the throne with them at his on right there on right by his legs, by his thighs. So there's precedence in the comics. So for people bitching about Loki, sorry guys, but it is a thing. I think probably what upsets people more is not so much that, but I think just consider what month it is. So it kind of may come off as pandering.
No, but the funny thing is in Ragnarok they showed, if you would have gone by the Norse mythology, the wolf.
By the what mythology?
Well, whatever mythology it is, the
Norse.
Norse
and his sister are technically his kids. Both of them.
Do we get some South mythology in that?
Yes. But
instead of North.
but anyways,
I want some
did
Dixie
y'all know
crack.
that though?
about
What
wait,
about
say
the
that
South
again?
mythology?
No, about the wolf being Loki's kid.
No,
Is
that
that North or South?
Loki had
Yeah.
3 kids. He had a dragon, a wolf, and whatever her name is.
No.
Yeah,
he
if
had
I'll
two
pull it up.
sons. No, he had two. He had 2 sons, a daughter, the wolf, and a horse.
And a dragon.
No, one of his sons had the dragon was his wife, who could, and it was actually called the serpent.
Damn, Loki got around.
Mm-hmm.
Although it is said that Loki created the world-ending dragon, the great serpent, because there's two versions of Norse mythology.
I agree with the dog.
And because what happened is the original poetic Edda was translated twice. The first time it was translated from Norse into Germanic, and the second time it was transferred from Norse into English. And for some reason, the two translations don't match up.
Interesting.
So I'm wondering if that's going to continue in the story. Like if they're actually going to include that.
Is it
Give him a reason to adopt Loki as a child.
I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna just say this: you guys made a better argument to watch the show than the people that are probably paid to promote it. Let that sink in, and keep in mind, like we're probably as the most anti-woke that you can possibly imagine us ever being. But it's like if we'll give credit where credit is due. And the thing is that the people that are supposed to be the professionals that promoting the product, shilling the product and everything, can't even do a good job shilling the product. And yet here you're just you guys essentially giving it away for free. And even I'm like, the way you guys are describing it, even now I'm intrigued and I never had any intention to watch this.
They may be paid to do it, but I don't think they watched the show. I think they watched the 15-minute version of the show, maybe, but they didn't watch the show. Because what's one of the biggest mistakes going around is, Loki escaped to another planet. No, he went to Mongolia.
Well, there you go. That might actually be it. Then you might have just hit the nail on the head. They're getting paid to review, watch it, promote it, chill it. I'm essentially shill it. I'm not gonna say review. It's damn chilling the product, and yet they don't even know how to show the product because they don't even know their product.
Yeah, they're just pretty. You know what I mean? They're pretty, so they get the job.
Or ugly looking, because I don't know. In 2021, prettying is pretty subjective nowadays.
Well, yeah, but you know what? I wonder what they will do.
What?
If we get Ricardo in the MCU. Now, who's Ricardo, you may ask? Well, he's a character out of Marvel Romance.
Of course, it would have to be a Ricardo and Eduardo or some type of Ardo from in Spanish culture.
Yeah, and he has Hetty Wolf, Kathy Stewart, Millie the model, Doris Nelson, and Patsy Walker to choose from.
Oh God! See, now I have to look this up after and see what this is about.
There's 24 stories laid out with a simple set of rules. Well, that is basically the secret of everlasting love.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Marvel has done like other types of comics besides superhero comics in the past. So yeah, I mean, this isn't so far-fetched.
Oh yeah, they have a whole horror series, and let's not forget Marvel Zombies is actually canon in the multiverse now because they reintroduced it back in 2012.
Yeah,
they took it out in 2008 and they put it back in 2012.
Which is, now that you brought it up, because I know we talked about it before, but according to its own lore, the zombie virus, essentially, or the zombie plague, or whatever you want to call it, in the Marvel zombie universe, was actually the strongest entity there was, because they literally had to trap it in a time loop to sustain it, because there was no other alternative to defeat it. I don't know if they
had to basically isolate the multiverse. They had to destroy worlds.
It was that powerful. It destroyed characters like Galactus when they were I forgot who was the team that united to defeat him, but they destroyed god level beings like Galactus. No one was safe from it. Like there was even I think Dark Phoenix even got infected. Thanos got infected, I believe. Like there was not one character that did not get infected, and in the end, how they ended up essentially killing the zombie virus
I
was
think
rather.
Wolverine healed from it.
Who?
Didn't he?
Yeah. Wolverine,
Wolverine heal?
Wolverine, and somebody else. They they basically
Actually,
had to isolate the multiverse to make sure nobody could travel to or from zombie Earth.
so here's the thing about the zombie virus, because I remember the comic. I actually loved the comic so much. I was considering buying it at the time when it came out. I just didn't because I didn't. I don't know what escaped my head at that time.
Wait, what comic?
The Marvel
This is
Zombies.
Marvel Zombies.
And keep in mind, there was 5 different volumes of it. There was Marvel Zombies 1 through 5. Then there's a tie with Ultimate Fantastic Four, which actually is the introduction of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Marvel Zombies Returns, which I think is the conclusion of the original story. And I think there was a few more tie-ins from there that I can't.
Yeah.
We also have Marvel Zombies versus Army of Darkness with Ash Williams of all crossovers, which by the way is pretty hilarious. And I forgot, I can't remember the rest of them, but I love this so much. That's actually what kind of got me into wanted to know more about the Marvel universe. So it was so powerful that characters like Wolverine had their healing factor nullified. Hulk was actually, I think, bitten when I think it was Hulk who bit Sentry. I don't remember who bit who. But Hulk was bit, I think, when he was Banner, and that was the way he was able to get infected. Because he couldn't get infected as Hulk, but he basically went on a rampage. And it was so powerful that at that point, then quote unquote strongest character Marvel had, which was Sentry, even got infected on it. But of course, I think he got infected in his human form. But then it affected his superhero form as well. And that was the character that essentially got stuck in a time loop. It's a weird continuity thing. Like, you would actually have to read the comics to understand the continuity of it and how it works. But it was crazy because they basically said there was nothing that could ever contain this virus. There was one solution they had, which was nanobots in the end, but it didn't exactly eradicate the threat. It was still present. And damn, I forgot where I was going to go with all this, but the short of it is that they canonized it. I think it was 2012 when they reintroduced Secret Wars, and they gave the Secret Wars 2, which was essentially to nuke the multiverse. And this, now we have Marvel Comics proper as we have it now, the main continuity.
Yeah, because the virus, they contained the virus in the original storyline, but then they decided that they'll revisit the world later to check on it. That's the reboot. And of course, they found the world depopulated, but Zombie Galactus has escaped. And then, of course, you've got Secret Wars, which is Doctor Doom, King of the Dead.
All right, guys, I'm heading out. It was nice hanging out with y'all today.
Where are you going?
All right, buddy.
I'm going to bed.
Why?
Because I'm tired.
Oh, you're a weenie.
Now, apparently, Ben Wheatley is
All right,
interested
guys.
in making this into
Whatever.
a movie.
All right.
And there is a version of Marvel versus Capcom with the dead superheroes.
Now that is interesting because in Marvel vs. Capcom, in one of the endings of Marvel vs. Capcom 3, I think specifically it's the Frank West ending.
Yeah.
He's a character from Capcom, in a game, in a franchise about zombies, no less. So he meets with Reed Richards, and Reed Richards basically says, "You have expertise fighting these guys. I could use someone of your talents to help me combat this threat." And essentially, they're going to go through the multiverse and destroy the zombies. And interesting, and just for those of you who have never played Dead Rising, which is the franchise that Frank West is from. And by the way, I know we mentioned earlier about superheroes not being overweight or hero characters not being overweight. Frank West is actually known for looking like your atypical hero. He is not handsome. He's out of shape, and he's just basically just an everyday man, a reporter journalist. So let that sink in. Who Frank West is as a character, and he in his own game series he's actually a zombie at the end of the game
Yeah,
because he
yeah.
got bit by a zombie at the beginning of the game, but they were able to contain it because of something called zombie. Essentially, they essentially created an antidote, and he has to keep taking it throughout the series. So
Now,
that's why he was sought out in Marvel vs. Capcom by Reed Richards
yeah.
to combat the zombies. So that's actually interesting continuity if that's the case.
But of course, they are going to loosely adapt one of the zombie comics in Marvel's What If. And in 2019, DC released a version called DC Ceased. And of course,
Mhm.
as we all know, that was some awesome foreshadowing.
Mhm. I'm not familiar with Deceased. I only know of what was it, Blackest Night?
Yeah, but basically, they did some excellent foreshadowing there of the death of DC.
Mm. Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that could be said about DC Comics right now as well. It's sad that we're seeing the two giants essentially struggling to see who shits the bed faster and harder.
Now, one, they should have stuck with the parademons. Two, introduce Dark Side with Steppenwolf plotting the mother boxes, giving us and of course Steppenwolf wanting the mother boxes for his own end, so he volunteers to go get them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the first mother box, at Flash, a Cyborg's father. So we get the Cyborg movie with the mother box, then we get the Wonder Woman movie with the mother box, and then we get the tie-in movie with all of them trying to protect the last mother box to take down Steppenwolf, and they take down Steppenwolf. They go to take the mother boxes, and of course that's when they discovered Darkseid's behind everything, and do a thing where Darkseid just basically wipes the floor with them because they don't have Superman, and they have Batman get away with the first mother box, the remaining one, the one they're supposed to be protecting,
Mm-hmm.
leaving the other two behind to awaken Superman, and then you get Superman 2, Superman Returns, and then they go, and he basically goes after Darkseid with the help of Bruce Wayne and as not Batman, Bruce Wayne, have providing the technology, you know, uh, to enable Superman to survive the radiation of Darkseid's environment.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a
And
lot
then
of things DC could do, but
DC could have made that into 5 good movies. Instead of wanting 5 good movies doing over 500 million each, they wanted a movie that does $1 billion.
I think that's their
Oh,
biggest problem.
Josh, you did it once. You could do it 5 times. And the audience is like, dude, there was nothing else to see, so we went and saw it 10 times.
Yeah,
People
it's
forget that. Why did Frozen and all these other movies make money? Well, if you look at the release schedule, what were they up against? Nothing.
not only that. I mean, I think part of the problem is like, okay, so you touched upon a big problem with DC is less is more, and DC doesn't seem to understand that. They think more is more. Like, okay, for example, we had Batman v Superman. Like, just how many characters were in the movie? What the hell was going on? By the end of it, it just like that was a movie that was years of build up and hype, and when we finally got it, it like, what the hell is this? We're supposed to be seeing a solid Batman and Superman movie. You know who should have been, and if it's anything like how they did it in the animated series, when they had that crossover, your villain in Batman v Superman should have been Joker teaming up with Lex Luthor. The most like iconic villains of each character teaming up together We could have seen Joker in live action kicking Superman around with a kryptonite dragon like he did in the animated series, and that was fun to watch. By the way, if you guys ever need to see something hilarious, please YouTube that. It is hilarious. And then what did we get in the end? I don't even remember because God, I forgot that God Awful movie. And then I tried to sit through what was the other one? The Justice League movie. I could not sit through either version of the Justice League. I just tuned out because it was just too many characters. It's a wannabe Avengers movie, and you're doing it all wrong, despite the fact that Justice League inherently probably has been more popular than the Avengers, and more people probably know of the Justice League than they did the Avengers growing up. Not saying that the Avengers weren't popular, just that more people probably know who the Justice League characters were before they even knew who was on the Avengers. And how you shit the bed with that formula. Like, you could have done it so well if there was a proper build, but of course they have to make everything so dark and edgy, which is the first problem. DC Universe is not like that. Even in the comics, there's still a lot of color and that it's like the darker tones offset the more bright, cheerful environment. Like Metropolis is a very lively place. Like, really, the darkest spot that you'll find in Metropolis is LexCorp. You have Smallville, not that a couple distance away from it. And I know I'm on a fucking tangent, but it's just how fucking much I hate the DC movies. And the only one that was any decent of the ones that I watched was Shazam. Because
I like that movie. I like Shazam, other than him dancing the floss. But yeah,
it was the only
dated. It was out of date even when he did it.
Yeah.
But I'm a superhero to become a modest YouTube following of 200,000 followers. Wow. But still, that's other than a few little mistakes, that was a well planned out movie. It had the motivations of every character there.
Mm-hmm.
The daddy issues, the big brother issues, the overcoming adversity issues, the bully issues, the system is broken issues.
The hot foster mom issues.
Mummy abandonment issues.
Oh my God, that was a crazy scene.
Instead of turning it into into your typical American drama where everybody sits around at the table at the end of the day and says, "We're family." Well, they did that, but you know what I mean? They actually overcame their issues, then sat down together and decided to be family. They didn't say, "Oh yes, we're family, we're real family." No, they said, "Yeah, that's what we are now." It wasn't like the fake. We've come together now, so we're family.
No, there was actually like a build to it towards the end of it when they all together. The bond is formed.
It wasn't forced. They all basically worked together and realized that living together doesn't make them family. It was a mutual love and respect for each other.
This is going to be a hot take, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. But Shazam was a better, in theory, just by the way we're describing it, it's a better Justice League movie than Justice League was.
Yeah, it was a better Marvel movie than Marvel. Some people do call it a Marvel movie, and that's true because that's what Marvel ripped off. Marvel, people forget that Marvel ripped off Shazam.
Yeah, like you can kind of tell there was a shift at a certain point with Marvel. Like, remember we were talking about the Iron Man movies. Like, there was a hint of element. Like, the movies they had more serious tones. Like the second movie, for example, we discussed the whole alcoholism thing was a big part of the second movie. By the third movie, the series kind of did a different take with Iron Man. I think that's one of the reasons people hate it. But don't really understand it is that they were kind of going more for a more dramatic, but like comedic tone, like kind of, hey, we got you with this plot twist type of deal. You didn't see this one coming.
Yeah, M. Night Shyamalan. Yeah, but M. Night Shyamalan blew that away out of the water because everybody, as soon as you start calling plot twists, they go, "Oh, we're gonna get Shyamalan."
And remember that a big part, I know people might like it, but it kind of like, again, going back to this whole like trying to be trendy and, with pop culture and whatnot. One of the problems that they had in that movie in Iron Man 3 was, and I don't know, it just kind of seems like, again, in hindsight, a dramatic shift tone. The whole thing about Tony Stark and his Dora the Explorer watch.
Yeah.
And he kept saying, "Oh, that's a collectible," but it's like the movie derailed just for that one in joke. I don't know what the joke is, and it's like it became a big part of that movie.
It's supposed, yeah, that was really pretty bad. Dora, it's supposed to be, Dora Explorer. She's big. All the kids are into it. It's like, who's Dora the Explorer? Because it was out of demographic. Going from Dora Explorer to Iron Man is a huge, like a 10-year gap in audience.
Which is, even more evidence to that now that you point that out, is the fact that, he found a kid that basically helped him get back to, back to his himself, like, recuperate, rebuild his technology and everything. So it's like, oh, hey, look, we have a kid in the movie who is playing hero, So now we have like a character that the child audience can identify with. So it's just one of those things where the Iron Man movie the series took a different dramatic tone, and it went from dark humor before, like, action, a little bit, and a lot of dark humor, because a lot of humor in Tony Stark's humor had to do with the fact of him downplaying a more serious situation as opposed to something that's like, all right, everything's a joke to him now, and this is just how Tony Stark does things. And again, it's kind of like going back to that 10-year-old mentality you kept talking about earlier. Like, they just completely did him wrong in that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't hate it at the time, but like, if you got me to watch the Iron Man movies right now, I would only watch 1 and 2, and then at 3 I'm gonna tune out because it's like I can't watch that movie a second time.
I feel you.
Oh man, I know I've been said a lot today, but I'm about to tune out soon because I do have to get up early for work. But before I do, let me leave you guys on this one, especially Dave, because I remember I brought this up before, and this is related to Loki. So about Loki being gender fluid, right? Yep. Remember when I introduced you to the concept of the bartender's paradox?
Yeah.
What if that's what ends up being the end with Loki? Just saying.
Yeah, that's, I think, what Adam was getting to. That Loki, by introducing Loki to the TVA, they inadvertently informed Loki of everything that he needed to know to take them down, and that's what Dark Loki is. And because Loki learnt that he could time travel through the Tesseract, which he didn't know he could do before. You know what I mean? He learnt stuff off them. And he knows where to get the Tesseract, and he knows where there's Infinity Stones. All he has to do is find the right one for the right universe, and he can time travel.
I mean, that would be within Loki's character, especially consistent with the comics, because he's
a schemer. You want an Infinity Stone? I've got all 5. Come on, come at me, bro.
That's Loki. I mean, like I said, you guys did a much better job of shilling the first episode than professionals that are paid to shill it. Like, it's funny because, again, if it's something's pandering, I know you guys will hate it if it's hard pander, woke politics in it, but at the same time, it's like you guys are gave your objective take about it, and
we also gave the caveat that this is only based on episode 1. We don't know where the whole series is going to go. Whereas these people are shilling for it, they've probably seen 15-minute shorts of every episode and put their reviews together. But like I said, they don't sound like they've seen the whole series.
Probably, or probably didn't even watch it at all, and just get
Yeah.
paid to say that we did. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah,
But
we're paid to work. We're reading a script. We've got our talking points.
that's the way I read it. But I mean, listen, I that's not gonna change. I mean, I may not. I probably doubt it because I really had no intention of watching it. I'll probably just listen to what you guys have to say about it.
Yeah.
If it sounds interesting, maybe in the future, maybe I may explore it. But I'm just burnt out of like superheroes. My only superhero related thing that I want to see in the near future is when Normal Heroes 3 comes out. I already talked to you to death about that. That game doesn't come out till August, so I still got no 2 months.
Oh, come on, seriously. You want a Hank Scorpio live action?
Listen, well, first of all, Hank Scorpio is one of the greatest villains to ever exist, just for the simple fact that that man was so like down to earth, how he approached everything, and even his villainous moments. He had the sense of just like this is just another normal Tuesday for me. Like, look, I'm getting invaded by international police and UN forces. All right, guys, you know the drill. Let's do this job. And like when he took out the flamethrower,
it's Tuesday. Repel borders.
he took out the flamethrower and he was just so happy to use it. And the one line at the end that kills me, I hope I'm saying it right, is where it's like, Homer, Homer, you're missing out on all the fun. It would really help me out if you killed someone along the way. And he's just so joyful about it.
Yeah. I don't mind you leaving me, Homer, but could you at least kill somebody on the way out?
Yeah, that's what it was, something along those lines. And it was just like, yo,
really help me out.
It's like if Hank Scorpio was my boss and that's just the kind of environment I had to work in, I'd probably say, you know what, I enjoy it. And he took good care of his workers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was a relatable villain. And if you look at it from the perspective of the bureaucracy and the corruption that he's fighting, he wasn't. He was a villain only in the eyes of public perception.
Yeah, that's so true.
I bet you. Oh, let's say he was fighting Donald Trump. All the Orange Man bad, yay! Hank Scorpio, you're a hero. And yet, if he was fighting Obama, which I think who was president at the time, he's the bad guy. He's the worstest ever. So again, that shows you the hero's perspective, which is not really explored in anything.
He's a true hero.
Yeah, whether or not a villain is a hero or not depends on perspective. But
true.
But Hollywood, I mean, I remember the argument with cowboy movies when Dirty Harry, Clint Eastwood started making his own stuff. He wanted to go into that perspective, with like Pale Rider. He was a bad guy. He got done over and he sought revenge. But because they were doing bad things at the time, he came out the hero.
I mean, if you think about it, like the Dirty Harry series is essentially a loose cannon cop. Yeah, he essentially would be a bad cop because again, he's not doing things by the rules. There's a lot of stuff that he's doing that could be thrown out in court, when you're making a case, and it has been done in the movies. But the reason why
in the movies that they get in his way with bureaucratic nonsense, and
that's the reason why he's a hero. Because again, now it's explored in even in the movies that he's dealing with corruption within his own like police force. And
incompetence.
Yeah,
it's a double whammy. Oh,
so it's like, how do I fight crime and fight corruption for the people that I work with? How do I fight the bureaucracy? And he basically says, the fuck with it. I'll just take justice into my own hands. How I do it, and that's why those movies are awesome for it.
I'd hate the remakes.
Wait, they're remakes of Dirty Harry?
I don't think they could do it. I know they tried, but I don't think they could do it while Clint's alive because he owns some of the rights?
I hope to God not, because the originals are perfect. I mean, I saw the out of HBO Max, I think only had two, and I think two, three, and I think five. I don't think I think they were missing one and four, and I really wanted to watch one and four. But
There's
when I was watching them, they
five.
still hold up. They're still
Five,
pretty
that's
good
where he
movies.
helps the rapist. And it's like, yeah, from the police perspective, I'm supposed to take you in, but I ain't. It's just like, why would I hand you over? Why would I hand you over to people who basically let what happened to you happen?
Yeah.
All right, so the first time, yeah, the first time, yeah, you might have been, you know, second time, or but then the third time it's like, yeah, these people aren't going to stop, so I'm going to stop them. So he goes from cop. So he goes from. That's how it ends. He goes from bad cop to going full Monty. Basically, he's Charles Bronson. Basically, he went from being Clint Eastwood to Charles Bronson.
Talk about another legend, a Pally.
And that was another remake we didn't need.
I know I spoke about it once with Eric Ward. If anybody doesn't remember, he was somebody who was on the fan cast as well. Eric, if you're listening, hello. I hope you're doing all right in California. But I didn't think it was that bad a remake, to be honest. It just wasn't perfect because, unfortunately, the problem with the remake was that they updated it to kind of fit more the modern aesthetic, and if anything, like modern day. And it fits. It actually, if you watch the movie, it fits the modern day. It really does. The problem is that it has to live up to what was the precedent of the Bronson movie, you know. And it's like that movie is too perfect. That movie is too good. I can't say too perfect. It has some flaws, but it's too good of a movie that it sets the standard so high that a remake can just not feasibly touch it. And unfortunately, the remake suffers from the fact that they also part of the problem with the remake was that it really the media attacked it almost immediately because they looked at it as a promotion of gun culture, despite the fact that if they had watched the movie, they probably would have been all in favor for it. Because not only were the villains of a certain demographic that they don't like, excuse me, they targeted certain people that they view as victims, and basically they would have been all for this revenge fantasy movie, essentially, which is not really a revenge fantasy movie, just revenge. But they really attacked it. They really played the identity. They really did that movie dirty because again, it shows the positives of guns. You know, like sometimes you need to have a firearm in the home to defend against intruders that have freaking firearms. You know, maybe learn where are the safe spots in your houses. Learn where to hide. Little self-defense details. You know, everything. You know, like by the end of the movie, it even showed, which is funny because to just not really hammering too much into it too long, but one of the things that they explored in the movie, not only in the original Death Wish, but in the remake, was just how sometimes the police force is ineffective at protecting citizens, or much less prosecuting criminals. So this is again a man taking the law into his own hands, and I hate to say it like this, but empowering himself. You know, taking his own action because in both movies, Paul Kersey, the main character, is a pacifist. And even in the original, he said they even acknowledged that he was a bleeding heart liberal at one point. But he had some training with guns in the past. I think they said that the mother didn't like the dad.
Yeah.
And that's why he became more liberal. He became an architect and kind of grew up in this bubble of, oh, hey, I live in this high society. Nothing bad can ever happen, despite the fact that, yes, bad things can happen if Jeff Goldblum decides that bad things will happen.
Yeah, exactly.
I had to throw that last one in there. So the remake, in many ways, was very faithful to what the original did. It's just that, unfortunately, it came out in the 20 and the late 2010s, and late 2010s is a trash time in entertainment to begin with. So it unfortunately had a lot going against it.
Shut
But,
your mouth, you thong wearing fatty.
oh, you really had to go there, didn't you?
He,
Well, I mean,
he loves that.
I've been sitting here like with no game plan for like 5 minutes trying to get in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm not gonna harp on it too much, but yeah, probably I go off on the tangent too much.
Hey,
sometimes.
look at this! Look at the screen.
Hold on.
Can you see that?
No,
You can't.
Why not?
no, because I'm blind.
They didn't wield the Infinity Stones, and as established, the TVA is in the Nexus. It's outside of the timeline, so the Infinity Stones don't work because they're out of their universe. It's the same
Which
with magic.
is
Magic
Yeah.
doesn't work there.
But
that's
it's just
actually canon to
stupid.
the comics. That the Infinity Stones do not work outside of their designated reality.
Yeah,
It's just stupid.
I mean, limits, rules, you know. That this was long established, so they didn't want to. They want to make.
Otherwise, the villains from the other universes would use them. You know, Thanos would just multiverse travel to get them. No, he had to come up with a way of getting the stones without breaking the rules. He had to track them down and get them off the people with them. And because most of the people who had them weren't using them, he just basically had to pummel a few people to get them. Oh, look, there's an Infinity Stone unguarded. Why? Because so many people don't know about them, and those who do won't go near them because they fear the cosmic gods. And it turns out the cosmic gods, the three cosmic gods, are basically lazy assholes. They'll let you get an Infinity Stone. They'll even let you use them. As long as you don't break their time rules, they let you go crazy otherwise.
That's pretty much it in the comics too. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, it is canon. It is canon that these three gods are absolute lazy pricks.
I mean, just like gods in most of mythology. So there's that.
Yeah, and I mean, if you want to go into it, you have Boulder, who was the original Superman. His only weakness was mistletoe. Otherwise, he was infinitely powerful, infinitely strong, infinitely immune. Didn't matter how hard you hit him with a truck, it didn't phase him.
Mm-hmm.
But if you slap him with mistletoe, he drops dead.
It's just like, listen, it's like in the Bible. Samson, strongest man to ever exist. That man could do almost anything out of pure strength. What's his weakness? Yeah, just simple. Yeah.
His weakness was simping.
Which is funny because that is the true lesson.
Yeah. I want to cuff your hair, Samson. No, I'll let you touch my boobie. Okay.
That really was the true lesson in it. I'm surprised most people don't understand that there were some undertones there that basically say, hey, look, he revealed his weakness because essentially some female came out of nowhere and said, you wanna smash this big boy? And he basically said, Samson, smash.
Hulk smash, yeah.
So that's listen, a lot of the stuff in superhero comic book culture has its origins in like
mythology,
theology.
mythology,
yeah. So people, especially for people who want to argue, oh, these were created by the man, that just shows your ignorance, that you don't know the simple stuff.
Shut your mouth, you thong wearing fatty.
No, I don't wear that. It's uncomfortable.
For all these woke people complaining about cultural appropriation, well, Marvel Comics is the biggest. They appropriated Norse mythology, Christianity,